All right. So think about the entire internet for a second, right? The entire internet built an economy around data collection. So it used to be like every platform, every service, every enterprise software stack. The more data you collected, the more leverage you had. Store the customer records, you hold the financial history, you own the identity data, and then the possession of that data was your power. And that model was very expensive to implement, and it's becoming a liability because every database is eventually a breach waiting to happen. Every record you collect is a regulation you're responsible for. Every piece of sensitive data that lives on your servers is a future legal exposure you may not even know you're carrying yet. So there's a different model emerging. It's not newer. The cryptographic math for this model has existed for decades, but it's becoming infrastructure now. The idea is that you can verify something is true without seeing the underlying data that makes it true. So that shift changes enterprise software completely, and the builders who understand it first are going to win contracts the rest of the industry can't close. Most enterprise software is built on a simple assumption that trust requires possession. To verify someone's identity, you need a copy of their ID. To confirm a financial transaction, you need access to the account. To validate a compliance check, you need the underlying records, but the software holds the data, right? And the data is the asset. This creates three compounding problems. First, every database becomes a target. Healthcare data, financial records, legal documents. The more sensitive the data, the more attractive the breach is. Healthcare data sells on dark web markets for 10 to 15 times the value of a credit card number because it's harder to invalidate and enables more kinds of fraud. Every data store you build is a liability you're insuring against indefinitely. Second, compliance costs compound. HIPAA, GDPR, CCPA, SOC2, ISO 27001, every regulation that touches your data store adds compliance overhead, right? Legal review, audits, certifications, data retention policies, breach notification protocols. The bigger the database, the bigger the compliance surface, right? And the regulations aren't getting simpler. Third, trust transfer failures. When a client gives you their data, they're trusting that your security posture matches their exposure. Every time a company that looks like you gets breached, your client asks whether you're next. If you have someone in your industry get breached, your client is looking at you. They're side-eyeing you. And that's a sales conversation you're having even when nothing has gone wrong. The question is whether there's a way to provide the same verification, identity, compliance, financial validation without holding the underlying data at all. Zero knowledge proof is a cryptographic technique that's been in academic research since the 1980s. And the core idea is I can prove to you that I know something or that something is true without revealing the underlying information that makes it true. A classic example is I need to prove I'm over 18 to access a service. The traditional model is I hand over my ID. The service sees my full name, date of birth, address, and document number. They now have my personally identifiable information, or PII, stored in their system. And with the zero knowledge proof, I generate a cryptographic proof that my birth date, without revealing the birth date itself, satisfies the constraint that I was born more than 18 years ago. And the service verifies the proof, they get the answer. Yes, this person is over 18, without ever seeing the underlying data that produced that answer. Now, this is proof without disclosure, verification without possession. Real systems running this today, like Starkware, is building zero-knowledge rollups that verify the validity of thousands of transactions without exposing the underlying transaction data on-chain, right? Aztec is building a privacy layer that lets financial applications run compliance checks without storing the underlying account data. And the European Union is actively polling ZK-based digital identity systems that let citizens verify their credentials without handing over the credential itself. This technology is not theoretical. It's in production right now, and the question is whether enterprise software is built to actually use it. AI systems intensify the data problem. Every intelligent workflow that touches sensitive data, document processing, identity verification, compliance checking, financial analysis, creates a new surface where data exposure can happen. And the more capable your AI is, the more sensitive the data it's typically being asked to process. Now, this is the tension that's killing AI adoption in regulated industries like healthcare, right? Healthcare operators want AI-assisted intake workflows. They can't send patient records to a public API. They're not sure their legal team has cleared the private deployment option I described in episode 17. Remember? Private deployments, on-premises hardware. So they're doing it manually, right? The same way they did it 5 years ago. But the unlock is AI workflows built on verification instead of storage. So the model processes a proof, which is a cryptographic attestation. Water Gatorade break. Zero sugar thirst quenching Gatorade. I'm on my healthy shit. You know what it is. Been on that. I stand on that. Say what it is, and I meant whatever it is. What am I saying? All right. The model processes a proof, which is a cryptographic attestation that certain conditions are met, right? Rather than the underlying record. So the model gets the information it needs to make the decision. And the underlying data never leaves the secure environment. This is what I talked about in episode 17. You gotta watch that shit before you watch this. Go back to episode 17. All right. This is early stage, right? The tooling for ZK native AI workflows is being built right now. But the founders who understand the architecture behind it, who can explain to a healthcare compliance officer or a financial institution security team why their workflow doesn't require data exposure, are going to win the contracts their competitors can't. This is why technical communication is extremely important in ensuring that you can remove abstraction, right, from these extremely complex topics. Explain them to someone in healthcare who doesn't know anything about software. Explain it to them in a clear and concise manner. This is why I believe the salesperson is extremely valuable in the age of AI, even more valuable, because there's so much confusion and so much abstraction that AI creates. When AI writes down words, there's so much abstraction in those words that it's hard for people in the real world to actually get a grasp on what AI is even saying. But technical salespeople, I would argue, are more valuable to a company than an engineer. I said it. But most software founders are competing on features right now, right? More AI features, better interface, faster deployment, lower price. Features races flatten. The platform that wins on features today gets commoditized by next quarter's release cycle, right? The next differentiator is the privacy architecture itself. Companies in healthcare, finance, legal, and government, the sectors with the highest value contracts and the most defensible revenue. Edit that out. Now, these companies are increasingly selecting vendors not on capability but on trust. Can you explain how this works? Can you put this in writing for our legal team? Does this workflow require us to expose data we're regulated to protect? Those are the questions that you need to answer. And every enterprise sales cycle in a regulated industry eventually reaches the security and compliance review. Most AI software vendors fail that review because they were built to maximize capability, not to minimize exposure. The founders who architect for minimum disclosure, who build workflows that prove rather than expose, will win the enterprise deals that capability-first vendors can't close. So this is asymmetric positioning that's available right now, before it's obvious. We have to take our opportunities. As founders, we got to take our opportunity and build more governance within our AI systems. Whoever is building the best governance will win. The internet used to reward whoever collected the most data. The next era may reward whoever exposes the least while proving the most. Not bigger databases, but better proof systems. Audit your business. Ask what processes currently require exposing data that could instead require only verifying a claim. Where could proof replace possession? Every unnecessary piece of stored data is future risk. Reducing that risk is market advantage. So what data in your business should never have to leave the room? Drop it in the comments. Let me know. I'm Kai from Bridgeport, of course. This is the Sovereign Architect, and I will see you next time.